Okay, for how do I prepare that, I'm making these little fried onions, like the jerky fried onions that we used to put on like green bean casserole. I used to love those things. I could eat them right out of the container, right? Delicious. But we're going to make our own, and we're going to make them really healthy. So all I need is onion. I like to use apple cider vinegar. And then something crunchy. So I'm going to use sesame seeds and then a flavoring. So it could just be the onions with a little bit of vinegar and salt. It could be the onions with vinegar and some ground seeds. Something just to give it a little bit more of a crunch. You could use panko if you do have a panko that you can use that's gluten-free or grain-free. So all I'm going to do is cut off each end of the onion. Here. Actually, I didn't have to cut off both ends because I'm going to be using a mandolin. So if you don't have a mandolin, then you can use your knives. You'll just want to cut them very thin. The thinner you cut, the crispier they're going to be, which is fabulous. And another thing I forgot to pick up is my guard. And so I may start it without the guard, but I probably shouldn't. So let me grab my guard. Okay, whenever you use a mandolin, it has an extremely sharp blade. I cut the side of my thumb off when I first had one, and my husband threw it away, so I had to get another mandolin. Anyway, I'm going to use the guard, and all I do is I slide it across the blades. Now, this is a really nice mandolin. It is plastic. I've had, the one I cut my thumb on was metal, which was so nice. This is a Tupperware brand. Now, I do tend to cry with onions, so I may start crying in a minute. But you can see I have nice, thin onion. And so I'm going to put it in this bowl. But I want to break apart all of these little rings. I'm going to start crying. Break them apart. I'm not breaking them apart. I'm punching them out. Kind of like a hole punch. Separate all the rings. And then all I'm going to do is drizzle some vinegar on top. And then I want to add something with some crunch. So I'm using sunflower seeds today. But like I said, you could use some panko crumbs. You could use another dried nut or seed. Not dried, ground nut or seed. I like this just because sesame seeds are so high in calcium. It's a great way to get some more calcium. And then I can sprinkle that with whatever flavoring I want. Some salt, maybe some cumin, or even smoked paprika or some chipotle. Something a little bit smoky is going to make it taste a lot like bacon. So I'm just going to rub that around in the vinegar. I'm going to add my seasoning, so just a sprinkle. And then, let me just swap these. Okay, so this recipe does two things. It cleans out the sinuses, and then you end up with delicious, crispy onions. So all I did, I'm just going to leave them for just a second in the vinegar with the spices. And you can see I just put a little sprinkle of the seeds, and then I'm going to lay them out. It's okay if they even overlap a little bit. I'm going to lay them out on either parchment paper and put them in the oven as low as I can set my oven. Or if you have a dehydrator, I like to put mine in the dehydrator on its lowest setting and leave them for about 24 hours. I'll check them. They start to smell so good that I go and steal them. So by the time they're finished, only about half are left because they taste so delicious. Just like those French onions. Is that what they were called? I can't remember. Anyway, so you can see how much liquid's left. It didn't take much. But I only did a couple of slices of the onion. I just wanted you to see how easy that is. And so I'm going to cover the tray, probably do a couple of trays, and then stick them in my dehydrator to dry for 24 hours. So I'm going to speed up the video, but you'll see I'm going to do the rest of the onion. Okay, you can see I ended up with quite a bowl of onions here. I'm going to sprinkle on my sesame seeds. Once again, whatever you want here. Just something that's going to add some crunch. I'm going to drizzle on. So notice I'm not even really measuring. So maybe a couple of tablespoons of vinegar. It's really just to get it wet so the spices stick. And then whatever spices you like. I tend to like the smoked spices, maybe a little chipotle, maybe a little bit of cumin, or just salt and leave it just the onion flavor. You could even put some garlic on there. That would be good. Or like I said, just plain. And then instead of separating it with my fingers, you can see I'm still crying. I'm going to see if I can get it a little bit better with the fork. Just flip it over. Now, if you've never used a mandolin before and you get one, they are super sharp. So be really careful washing it as well. You just don't want to lose any fingers or sides of fingers. All right, see if I can toss these a little bit better. My bowl is even kind of small. That onion was so big, which is great because these are great. And when you dry them, if you get them nice and dry and crispy, I keep mine in the refrigerator and they'll last a couple of weeks. And then I top soups, I top salads, I put them on wraps. It's just really great to give you a nice oniony crunch. And now that we're coming into the holidays, you could even put them on some steamed green beans. Make your own green bean casserole without the canned condensed milk, right? All right, let's punch it out. So I meant to show you on my mandolin before I put it away all of the purple juice. So people don't think about onions as being so healthy, but this purple is high in anthocyanins, which is wonderful for our heart and our brain, for the circulation. It's just very high in antioxidants for any kind of inflammation. Okay, so now I'm just going to throw these rings onto my tray here. Trying to get the ones that are a little better coated because I do want a little bit of flavoring on them. So you can see they have a little bit of a glow, orange glow. Some of the pieces are kind of thick, like that one is going to take a little bit longer. It might end up being a little bit chewier, not quite as crispy. Same with that one. I think I'll slice that one a little bit better when I get off the camera. And then what I wanted to say was your end pieces that you cut off, these pieces here, make sure you put them in your gallon bag in your freezer because they will be great to make a vegetable broth for soups and stews because we're moving into soup and stew season as well. Okay, so I'm going to fast forward again. You can just see me laying out onions. Okay, you can see I ended up doing 3 trays, and it's okay if they overlap a little bit. I just don't want the trays too crowded. And in a couple hours, I'm just going to stir them up a little bit so that they can get crispy on all sides. I want to make sure things like this are punched out so they will be a little bit crispier. Make sure all the onions are at least separated, even if they are layered. So all these are going to go in the dehydrator, and then I will pull them out and show you in a little bit. Okay, here are our onions out of the dehydrator. You can see they kind of stuck together a little bit. They're extra crispy. They're kind of sweet. They are delicious. They're gonna be perfect on top of salads and things like that. So I'm going to throw them into actually I'm gonna put them in an airtight container and keep them in the fridge. And they'll keep for a couple of weeks. I just wanted you to see them so they're nice and crispy and crunchy and perfect to put on top of salads, wraps, soups, things like that, almost like croutons. Anyway, they're crispy, delicious, wonderful. And that purple color, they're full of anthocyanins. And quercetin, did you know quercetin is in onions? Indeed. Anyway, I hope that you make these onions. Let me know if you do and how you like them and how you season yours. You know I love to hear from you. Make sure you hit like, subscribe to my channel, and share with your friends. Enjoy!